sleeping and Chinese medicine. So I think insomnia or sleeping difficulties is truly one of the biggest issues that I see that people come into the clinic, right? And there are many ways in Chinese medicine that we look at insomnia and sleeping problems. So I just want to point out some basic ideas of what the purpose of sleep is from a Chinese medicine perspective. And then we'll also have a look at some postures, sleeping postures, and then also perhaps a guided meditation to just help this process, come along, right? To just support this sleeping, right? Good sleeping habits. So before that, I just want you to, the way we look at sleeping or wake sleep cycle, right, is the idea is that we wake up in the morning, right, we come out of our slumber, we come out of our deep inside the internal connection, we come out and we engage the world, right? We do our work, we do engage family, we do this, and we come to an environment outside of ourselves, right? And so then at the end of the day, we're supposed to now switch that external focused awareness and bring that back into our body, into our core, into our depths, right? Back inside. And the purpose then of this deep sleep, of disconnecting from the outside world, becoming unconscious of the outside world, is really to allow ourselves to disconnect from that, bring all that informational patterns that we, what we've encountered throughout the day, whether it's, from an emotional, mental perspective, or if, food that we've taken in. We take all of that information in, all that kind of context back into our body, and then it gets reorganized, right? So in deep sleep, when we get into those deeper patterns of sleep, we basically go into the state where we can reorganize to this deeper level of organization, to reorganize it so we can integrate it and make it a functional, useful part of our the next day, essentially, right, or the rest of our life, right? And so there's this process. We're coming out, moving back into our body, into our deeper connection inside. All along this whole process, that's where we have issues with, in terms of sleep, insomnia, right? Now, where do we have problems, right? On the one hand, we can be just too much out. We just still want to be connected, right? I mean, just think about when we go out, had a fun time, we hung out with friends, went to a party that was fun or something like that. And we come home and like, oh, I'm too excited, I'm too awake, kind of a thing, right? We're too much outwards. We're still connected to the outside world, and we have troubles pulling that back in, right? So that's one aspect. Another aspect is obviously more common is stress, right? That we have the thoughts ruminating around, right? That's another aspect. We think about it, we worry about things, or what should I do, what if, all those kind of thoughts come through our head. And in that case, right, it's already wanting to come in, right? It's internally, it's happening inside of our body, right? These thoughts and so on. But it's not, preventing us from going into that next deeper level of coming in, right? So we need to basically disconnect from those aspects, right? Another aspect is on a physical level. If our body is just too active, right? Because we haven't integrated, we sat all day and we didn't move our body, but our body needs movement early in the day, right? In order for that nervous system to essentially shut down and pull back in, right? So we have to be mindful of that. So a good habit of perhaps walking in the afternoon, early afternoon, lunchtime, take a nice walk, or go to the gym, something like that. All those things are really helpful for that nervous system to unwind. From a Chinese medicine perspective, we would say doing some Qigong, maybe in the morning or so, getting some movement happening in the morning will really help us in the end of the day to calm down and settle back in, right? So we have that kind of aspect. So these are just some examples of where we are triggered, where, what prevents us from disconnecting from the outside world, right? So the next thing I want us to do is just thinking about these physical aspects that kind of support this process to disconnect, to go back into sleep. to hibernate basically, right? So number one, breathing is really, really important, right? So we want to focus on basically breathing through our nose instead of our mouths, right? So even when we fall asleep or even during the day, let's prevent breathing through our mouths. A lot of sighing, those things kind of dysregulate the breath process and avoid, it hinders us from going deeper, right? So breathing in through the nose, there's a lot of physical things happen that actually the mouth and the back of the throat kind of opens up and allows for certain chemicals to release in our body that are very relaxing and, settling. So that's an important part of the process. Second of all, I'll demonstrate the postures, but second of all, when we fall asleep and we settle down, we want to have the blood flow to certain parts of the body. In particular, to our liver, which is located on the right side here of our body, and tucked underneath the diaphragm here on the right side of the lower rib cage here. It's a huge organ, and we actually want to relax and settle and sleep on our right side and allow that process to settle, so the blood can come into the liver, into this area, and deeply settle and relax into that area. To make things calm, right? To physically calm things down. To physically restructure and reorganize things and nourish things better. So those are key pieces in terms of sleep. The postures that I'll demonstrate are really helpful in that process, right? There will be one on your back posture, one on your side posture. Find which one is more comfortable for you and go from there. In terms of snoring and airway process, sleeping on your side is actually recommended. It opens up the air, it keeps the airways more open, so you get better airflow in and out, right? In terms of sleep apnea and so on. The side position is much, much better. What you will also notice on the side position sleeping is that you will start, if you are, we've got alternate dominant breathing through our nostrils. So every few hours we vacillate between having a dominant right nostril breathing versus left nostril breathing. In fact, they've shown that it is connected with our sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system, the active system and the relaxation part of our system. And so when we breathe through our left nostril, that's more that relaxation response can occur more readily, right? And so actually sleeping on your right side, if you are breathing more actively through your right nostril, which is the more active side, and you're sleeping on your right side, it actually will switch fairly fast and you will actually more actively breathe through your left nostril, which will stimulate again the nervous system to a deeper relaxation, right? So we've got those two things. The posture will really help the physical aspect of sleeping. And then I'll give you a guided meditation to essentially get your mind connected back into your physicality, into your body, and then being able to kind of calm down the body and settle it and relax it. And take your consciousness from up here in your head, back down through your body, and all the way down into your feet, right? And as you go through this process of the meditation, generally people will fall asleep halfway through the meditation, and that's what we ultimately want, right? And the more we can practice that, and the more you can entrain your body to go through this process, the faster, the deeper your sleep will be, and the more energized and refreshed you will feel when you wake up. So enjoy, sleep well, and get rest.